Going to call to order today, July 1st, the planning and zoning meeting for Mexico Beach. I appreciate everyone who's attending, and I appreciate our members who attend to help us out. So, first of all, we're going to have Adrian call the roll.
Mr. Hogan, Ms. Metcalf, Mr. Kerrigan, Mr. Driver,
Here.
Mr. Masters,
Here.
Ms. Lindsay,
Here.
and Mr. Bush.
Here. Let the record reflect we have a quorum. Okay, first up, variance request for 215 Francis Street. The way we work these is we open the hearing, which I'll do right now, for public comments. After all the public's had a chance to comment, then we close the hearing. The board will discuss, answer any questions, or go through any questions we might have, and then make a recommendation. And as a reminder, we're a recommendation board only. Anything that comes before us goes to the council. Typically, they go to the council. The next meeting is next week. Yeah, next week. So anything discussed here should go to the council for the next meeting on the 9th. Okay, let's open the public meeting for St. Francis Street. Do we have anybody who wants to make any comments or who's representing the property?
Well, I guess I represent the property.
Okay,
Uh,
just state your name and your
Wayne
address for the record.
Layfield, and I live at 215 St. Francis, in the Casino subdivision. And when we just purchased this house back in March, moved here just a little over a month or so ago, a couple months ago. Thank y'all for letting us move on to Mexico Beach. It's still beautiful. I'll like to add that to it. But when we bought the home, it had an existing deck built on the back of the property. And we thought we hired a reputable builder to extend that deck out, not widthwise, lengthwise, not widthwise. I have the pictures right here.
Okay, I think we've got surveys that show it too.
And
Pass those around.
so, I did not apply for a permit. I apologize for that. I really do. I'm sincere about that. And lo and behold, we was on vacation, got a call from the builder, and he stated there was a code lady came over and stopped work. Said, right thing to do. And we'll handle it when we get home. Man behind you. And so we stopped building as soon as we came home. Thank you. We came straight from here to the building department. Talked to Miss Sandy Fox. Anybody else want a copy? I'm more than happy.
Pass it around.
But she said I didn't have a building permit, and okay by my subdivision. So at that point, I hate to put you on the spot, Mr. Adrian. Crystal contacted you with our plans submitted to the HOA to complete this deck out. And I don't see anyone from my subdivision here right now. And I don't know, was there an issue, Adrian? Could you tell me that? Because I never had, but I had applied for a variance, so I applied for a variance, Miss Sandy called me. And then last Friday, code enforcement came home to the house and gave us a cease and desist, which we haven't touched the deck since we realized we need to stop.
But we were made aware that there was a cease and desist in the original building that we were never made aware of when we purchased the home. So we have an original deck that we just want to extend to our grassy area because after the storm, everything's just water down there.
Yeah, the
And
backyard.
we just want to be able to access our side yard and we were just gonna go exactly to that.
This is all
And
fell
get
over,
us to the
so
side
that's all
yard.
gone
That's
now.
all.
Okay.
We're
This is
not
like,
going further out.
no, sir.
Well, I
And-
think we understand, we've looked at some stuff. The distance from the back of the house to your lot line is 10 feet, is that correct?
Yeah, you're pretty
And
spot
the
on,
deck,
Chief.
the original deck was done whenever it was, it's actually in the 10-foot
Yes,
easement?
it is, actually, sir, it's like 12 feet. I'll be
So
honest with you,
Wayne,
to
he
the
just
property
said it's
line.
within 10 feet.
But it's 10 feet from the house out, yes, sir.
So it's already in the easement
Yes, sir.
and.
It's almost on the property line.
Yes,
okay,
sir, 2
up
foot
to
from
the
the property line, yes,
Which
sir.
we have 10-foot setbacks, rear setbacks
Yes, sir.
across the city, particularly in the newer subdivisions. That shouldn't have been an issue. I understand also that there was a stop work order given, when that first deck was built.
Yes,
It was
sir.
never complied
We were
with.
never
Yeah,
told
we were
that
never,
when we purchased the home.
That was not in our disclosure, sir. I would have done something then.
Okay,
It was there, and matter of fact, we're gonna call our real estate lady after we got through with this maintenance city meeting about it.
okay.
We had no idea.
No, sir, I didn't come out here to do any wrong, and like I said, I apologize for what wrong I did, I don't know.
So what you're asking for today is a variance, to extend the deck widthwise,
Yes, sir. And
to make it bigger, to extend a deck
Yes.
that's already in the easement.
Yes, sir.
Okay. Okay, just, anybody else, public, have any comments?
I know people are trying to do their houses to make, Mexico Beach look better. I don't see, I know Al said at one meeting that it was a case-by-case basis. If it's not hindering anybody's property, what an issue would be.
That is.
We've never approved an easement since I've been on the board,
Sir,
2.5, 3 years, that we've never approved an easement into an easement.
Yes, sir. The property behind me is St. Joe Long, all the way up to Bailey, I'm assuming, that's St. Joe strip of land, about 40 foot in, so it can never be built upon.
Mexico Beach Corporation behind
And so.
No, we were told St. Joe
St.
Company owns
you.
it.
Mexico Beach Corporation owns the strip up to the road.
Really?
Mhm.
We keep-
On Bailey or on behind me? There's a double wide strip back there.
Behind the casino, St. Francis, there's a
Yes.
ditch, and then the road. That ditch is Mexico Beach Corporation.
There's two
St. Joe's
ditches.
on the end, and the other side of the road is St. Joe's.
There's 2 ditches.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, there's 2 ditches in that area. Could I ask Al for permission to clean the trees here because they were fallen or dead? And Al gave me his permission himself. And all that property's been percentile cleaned up.
Who gave permission to clean
Mr. Cathy.
it? But he's not St. Joe Company.
Well, he told me, the trees were falling in my yard. What do
They
I
were
do?
dead.
I just bought a home with trees leaning in front of the house, what would you do? I asked. I
You
wasn't
asked
there.
probably the right guy,
Yes.
because the Mexico Beach
I
Corp
went-
owning it.
I went straight to the mayor and asked
Yeah, we
him,
didn't know.
because I was scared with the winds we've had, and back when we bought the house, the rain, and I would have a tree hit the house.
Okay, well, good, I think we're, understanding where we are. So we've got a deck that's in the easement now, and you're asking for a variance to enlarge that deck
Yes.
widthwise. Okay, anybody else from the public?
Here we are on that slippery slope again, Bill.
Yep, okay, I'm gonna close the meeting from a public standpoint and now go for board comments. Does anybody on the
I have a
board
question.
have any
Um,
questions?
What,
Jim?
I don't understand why you don't have access, to your side yard from the back door.
When it rains right there, sir, it floods that whole, that backside,
Huntsville River.
underneath the deck is all water.
But that's something you can correct, is that not?
No,
No,
sir,
we
'cause
can't, we can't dig
like
up
you
that
said,
ditch.
St. Joe Land, that ditch, no, sir, I can't correct it.
We can't touch that property, it's not ours.
Whoever land it is not allowed any
And
drainage.
it's flooding our property.
The debris and the trees running, it's a burn that might have been a ditch 50 years ago.
Okay, now, on the side of your house, I see you've got several feet.
Yes.
Could you not put a deck on that?
Well, that's what we wanna do, we wanna be able to go out our back door,
And
No, no,
walk
no,
to our
I'm not
side.
talking about the back.
Sam put a deck
On the side of the, on the right side
But
of the,
how do I get from my back door to the side?
Sir, it's really good
Well,
spread out there.
It's just muck down there.
it looks like the builder somebody,
We didn't build the
we got
house.
messed up.
Yeah,
We
yeah,
got,
we
we
didn't build the
got
house.
screwed by not on a final disclosure, sir. That's bottom line, we got screwed on not knowing.
Well, when you're
there were
homeless
issues
from the
going on.
storm for 8 months,
But you're
and you
looking
moved
for-
8 times,
Yeah, you're
that
looking for a
house looks
place to
pretty
live.
good.
That doesn't leak.
what is behind this? Adrian, what did you say all this was?
Well, I have it pulled up on my phone now. It actually ends the parcel before that. It is part of Joe Drive, just the deeded road. With Joe Drive, right behind it.
Isn't Erie behind them, the area that, they wanted to put that development in, where they wanted to change the?
That'll be at the end of the street. This is the St. Joe Company land.
At the end of Joe Drive?
Yes, they're down further. They're-
Oh, okay.
They're in here.
Okay.
So St. Joe, looking at this picture here, this is St. Joe behind him?
Not directly behind him, no, that's Joe Drive. That's just the ditch and the road.
Okay.
Oh, okay.
They're 65 foot from my property line to the center line.
Of the road.
Yes, sir. So it's kind of like a double ditch or
If you look at this
a
map,
fire breaking it down.
it's this parcel right here. So this is Joe Drive.
Okay.
The back is right here. St. Joe land is this up here. So there is a parcel between them and St. Joe. And then this ditch is the Mexico Beach Corp, so it stops a lot before that.
Okay.
So
Irrelevant, but
So nothing would ever be built back there, right?
No,
No,
Adrian, is that right? Nothing could ever be built?
well, it's a road behind it.
There's lots going down that road up to their lot, correct?
yes, sir.
But then behind them. Okay.
it's only a ditch and a road.
There's
No.
a wooden bridge or access for the other neighborhood.
That's across the road. though.
Across the road from us, there's a wooden bridge, someone built for that subdivision. Off, I guess that's J. Sign's gone, so I'm sorry, I don't know the street. There's a wooden bridge on the other side of the road bridge. There's a wood line.
Okay. Anybody else on the board have any comments?
My comment is, okay, 2 of the 6 considerations apply here, 4 do not. And I disagree that you can't engineer that area to bring in fill dirt and other stuff to prevent it from muddying up. So, you know, I would recommend that we recommend to the board that, we don't grant the variance.
Jim, can you, do you have those items in front of you where we have all the different ones? Yeah, go ahead and read the ones you think don't apply.
Special conditions and circumstances exist which are peculiar to the land. Okay, other land, other lots in that area have the same thing. One that does apply, special conditions and circumstances do not result from the actions of the applicant, so that's in their favor. The granting of the variance request will not confer on the applicant any special privileges. It will. Liberal interpretation of the LDR would deprive the applicant of rights commonly enjoyed by other properties. I disagree. That the variance granted is the minimum variance that will make possible the reasonable use of the land, building, or structure. Maybe, maybe not. Okay, the granting of the variance will be in harmony with the general intent and purpose of the LDR. Okay, we have been working and working ever since this hurricane to prevent non-conforming properties. Actions can be done to clean up that muddy mess that you've got right now, and there's no reason, in my opinion, to grant a variance.
Whose expense?
Okay, may I
Sure.
propose maybe a small solution? I think this is a problem here because it's not adjoining anybody. There's
Right now.
nobody going to be impacted behind it. Is it possible that you could build a small 4-foot deck along the back where you propose the 10 to a side deck, so you could get to your back door, rather than building, I'm saying, get rid of everything that's there now, from your back door along the side of the house here, build a walkway, a small 4-foot, whatever, walkway to a side deck, just to give you access to your deck. would that be an option?
It could be 6 inches high and not exceed,
Well, their door is
Right.
32 inches.
2.5 feet, 30 inches.
Yeah.
32 inches, sorry.
Yeah, so if they build a small
Not about the
walkway
money, Chief,
deck
about to tear that
to the
deck that
side.
was built.
yep. Okay.
Do-
I understand your situation, and
In a rock and a hard place, chief. I apologize. for
Yeah,
that.
we bought a home that we weren't made aware of, which we'll have to go back to the 20 with that, but when we saw the deck, you know, we had no idea it was illegal. So, it's just disheartening that our whole future on whether we're gonna stay in Mexico Beach, if we have no outdoor space, it makes it very difficult.
isn't it, I thought an inspector was supposed to.
I paid for an inspector, he never told me that that was done
Yeah, maybe.
illegally.
Like I said, when I applied for the building permit, I had no idea
We had
until Friday that it was already cease and desist.
That should have been an issue for your realtor, should
Like I said,
have known that you
I
had
spent-
non-conforming.
Well, we're just finding
I
this
spent
out.
$200 for a building permit. It's
200, it was $500,
Well,
yeah. I mean, I'm talking about the
I mean,
inspector to come in and look at the house, he
But I
never,
spent all this money for nothing. And you guys, it wasn't caught by our guys out here either. Until Friday, I got a cease and desist, which I haven't touched the deck since I was called down in
I appreciate
St.
that.
Kitts.
Yeah.
I'm not gonna go against your rules, no.
Okay, anybody else on the board? Okay, anybody wanna make a motion to deny the variance or approve the variance?
I move to deny the
Okay,
variance.
do we have a second?
I'll second
Okay. Adrian, will you call the roll, please?
Mr. Driver,
Yes.
Mr. Masters,
No,
Miss Lindsay,
Yes.
Mr. Bush.
it. Yes.
Motion carries. Sorry for your trouble.
And we really do appreciate you guys, doing it the right
Can I
way.
ask one final question?
Sure.
The LDRs allow me to drop that deck to ground level and have it as a patio and not a deck?
Yes.
Is that allowable? Would that be allowable?
You'd have to work through the building department and whatever, but I believe you can have paving or patio deck or something lower
I would
than 6
not,
inches.
I would make
up to
it
the-
still pervious, or I would not have any impervious thing, and back where I live at right now.
Well,
I
you'd have to
promise
meet
you.
that ratio too.
And it would never, it'd be a deck.
So that's
You
another-
guys are willing to work with
Make sure you're
me,
into
right?
that.
Oh,
No,
yeah,
no,
absolutely.
Would that be,
Sure.
would that be an issue with you guys if I have to approach you again? It's like, I like.
Yeah, you'll need
You'll need a permit.
permit.
You
You'll
need a
a
building
permit
permit.
to do it.
Will I get a refund on my permit that was given for me that I never could use?
You got a building permit?
Yes, ma'am.
It was issued?
Yes, ma'am. I paid for it. Yes, ma'am.
You
Yes,
have-
sir.
you-
I'll say pay for the $50
Well,
to
it was-
come here.
If you have a permit, then we should refund it because
You should have never been.
you should
Yeah,
never have a
no.
permit issued
I was issued and
for
paid
a
for a
deck
permit, ma'am.
that was
For a building permit for
Yes,
this deck?
ma'am.
built
Yes,
in
ma'am.
those.
I would not have done anything, I still didn't do anything until I got the final from the HOA and you guys.
So when did you get the permit to do the deck?
Crystal, when I do the permit for the deck, a month and a half ago, 6 weeks ago, after the stoppage, and I came back the following week.
I don't-
But you-
When we emailed
it
you.
looks like.
Yeah, let's keep
When I
moving.
emailed you,
When?
According to this, the stoppage was issued because you didn't have a permit.
Right.
Yes, sir. And then I went to the subdivision, emailed you what our plans were, and I was told to come down here and get a building permit for the land. Miss Sandy Fox gave me the permit.
No,
What?
she gives.
That's
I
what I
mean,
didn't think
she
you
gave
issued.
you a permit, you
She gave me $150, okay, I gave her $150.
Was that for a development order application fee?
Yeah, I thought it was for a building permit, I don't know.
I'll check into it.
Yes,
For
ma'am.
sure.
Yeah,
Thank you,
we can
guys.
work with you on that.
Thank you all very much
Sorry
for
about
your
that.
time. That's all right.
And you understand ours is a recommendation to the council?
Yes, sir, that's all right. I
Okay.
appreciate you guys.
You
All right.
still,
Nothing
still
Thank you
have
for
to show
keeping-
the council. and make
Thank you
this
for
good.
keeping me on the straight and narrow, because I won't do wrong again, I promise you.
Nothing official till Tuesday. They can do,
I will not
They
be
generally
generally
will.
again, I promise you. Thank you.
Okay, next one, 107 South 38th Street. We're gonna open the public hearing on this one. Do we have anybody representing 107 South 38th Street?
I'm homeowner in that development. It's, Oceanside Village. Are you talking, is that the right one?
This is the one with 4 or 6 townhomes? 6 townhomes?
107 F 38th Street. It's got 6 homes.
It wouldn't be Oceanside Village,
Is it across the street?
it's further down.
Oh, this is the variance for the, singling out the,
This is the concrete structure that's gonna be done, and they wanted 14 feet
right.
additional
They're
in
building
the back.
thicker walls apparently, and
Right.
they wanted to
I'm
keep the
sorry.
same interior space.
I'm sorry. I'm across the street.
Okay. Do you have any
No, sir.
comments?
I don't.
Okay. Anybody else?
So can you explain what exactly they want? Cause I'm not
Sure.
sure. We live directly behind them, so we got a letter, so,
Okay. My understanding is, they're asking for 2 things.
okay.
One, they want to go back with a concrete type construction, which would require the walls to be thicker than stick built. So it'll be 6 inches thicker, which they're asking for a variance of 6 inches on either side to stick out into the easement so they don't lose any space inside. That's number one. Number two, they want to add 14 feet. There's one of the 6 townhomes that have a 14-foot expansion, you might say, in the back. It's 14 feet deeper than the other townhomes. And what they want to do on the rebuild is square it up to that 14, make all of them the same 14 feet back. And my understanding is the lots are 100 by 100, and their depth is 36, I think I need to look that up, 36 plus 14. So that's what they're asking to do. It was one of those that was bigger, so they're asking for 2 things.
Yeah, I don't see that in the variance request. All I see is the thicker walls.
In the,
In there somewhere.
yeah, on the, let's see, I'm on page,
Yeah, but I'm looking right here at the variance request.
Yeah, that's what I thought. I thought it was just for the width,
okay.
not the
Well, I
depth.
was looking at the drawings, which show the 14 feet add on the back.
Yeah, but I mean, would they still be within the setbacks if they did?
They would be within the
We
setback.
don't need to approve that. as
Yeah,
long as
we
they're
don't
within
need
the
to
setback.
approve that.
All we need to do is, where they're asking for a variance.
Well,
Well,
no, this doesn't.
We do need to approve this because you're not going back on the original
They're not
setback.
going back on.
So they're
the-
not within their setbacks because they're,
No, they're within their setbacks because the back, the lot's 100 feet deep.
okay.
But
So-
if they don't go back within their footprint, then they have to come up with current code, right?
Well,
Yes.
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 Yes, but
But
then,
current code, 10 feet
That's
from the
what I thought,
back,
but-
would still make that 14 feet.
Yeah, but they would not be the side setbacks.
They can't meet the side setback. I think it's 2.5 feet on the side. We were supposed to get, did we get a survey on
It's
this
on
one?
the last page,
Let's look at that, it's a great point.
looks like this. Doesn't show much.
To me, the issue is if they go on the original footprint, they can go back 14 feet. If they don't go back, if they don't go with the original footprint, then they've got to just meet the setbacks the way they are.
See that utility easement?
I'm trying to figure out what I'm looking at.
It says 14,
I don't
this says
have-
14
And,
feet on
see,
the.
I heard utility easement.
Yep, it shows it right on the survey.
Because see, even on 37th, we're butting up to them, and see that, we're the second from the end, and she is on the utility easement as she was built.
Okay.
Okay, so if you're, I'm just gonna say, if y'all are gonna go and let this group go across on that easement, utility easement, I'm telling you,
Yeah, it's beyond.
it's already.
Well, I'm confused.
I am
This
thinking-
is, are you talking utility easement on the side, where it says utility easement
That's the rear.
here, or the rear?
No, that's the side, not the rear.
The
Cause the
side.
rear between them and us, from rear to rear, that's what we're
Right.
talking about. then if they're within that 10 feet, you know, outside, then that's okay to me. But if that width, you said their width this way?
Right, they wanna add 6 inches into the easement on either side. This, our map that I'm looking at says the total utility alley is 68 inches wide, so 5 feet 8 inches, which is tight.
10 years ago, we got that same measurement. We did ours, and the city granted us to go back. We were within the 10 feet. They let us extend ours. So in good conscience, we couldn't say anything about that. That's fine with us. I do have another concern. I'd like to use this time for 2 minutes.
Is it about this?
It's about 37th Street, 30th Street, and the whole thing.
If it's about this specific variance,
Okay.
but we can get you after.
Yeah.
Yeah, we'll talk.
After we finish this,
I will,
Yeah.
So,
yes.
Yeah,
so there's no issue with the variance on the sides then?
there is, because
There
they're
is.
asking for
That's
6
the one we
inches,
have
that's what
to
they're
approve.
asking.
They can't do that. You can't lose the 6 inches
Yeah.
on the inside.
And
well,
here's-
actually, Jim, we have to approve the back too,
I
because
don't know.
if they go, if they do that, then they have to come up to current LDR.
Yeah, but they've got more than enough space to do so.
They, on the side setbacks? they
No, where they're adding the 14 feet, there's more than enough space for them to add 14 feet.
If they go outside the current footprint that was there previously,
There's still enough space for them to add
If-
14 feet.
if they go outside of the footprint of where they were not on these 14 feet before.
One of them was.
One of them was. They can build that one back at 14 feet, but
Yeah.
the rest of them, they can't do. If they do, then they have to come up to code.
Well,
They
it's
have
just
the
a
same-
slab there, so it'll all be code, if that's what you're talking about. We're starting from scratch.
But then the other 5 won't be in their original footprint if they
They've got to be in their
extend
original footprint.
all the other
period.
5 out. This is the
Right.
only one that stuck out
So-
14 feet.
Right?
Which one is that?
It doesn't
Is
matter
that
in
the-
my mind.
That's this one.
Oh, let me see, let me find that page.
So. he
See,
can
they're
go
not
back-
even asking a variance for that, which,
It's somewhere in all.
and I asked the building department about this. As large as these lots are,
100 feet by 100 feet.
100 feet by 100 feet, right now, they're 34 foot long. If you add 14 feet to that, that makes them 48 feet long on a 100-foot lot. Doesn't make any difference whether they build on the slab or don't build on the slab. They've got adequate setback in the rear.
Right. That's the
So
way
all we
that's-
need to consider is the side variance.
It's not in the same footprint
No,
though.
It's
no,
not
that's-
the
It's
same
not the
footprint.
same
If it's
No.
not in the same footprint, then it has to meet current
Density.
LDR.
It's
Yeah.
impervious.
That would put them
Yeah.
outside their original
It's a
footprint.
density issue, isn't it?
It's a density issue also, but it's also a setback.
And they can
issue.
meet the current LDR, setback is still 10 feet.
And the side setback would be okay under the.
No, the
current-
side wouldn't
Do
be.
we
Well,
know?
then it's.
Just the rear would be okay.
The rear would be fine.
That's what I'm saying, so we don't need
Do
to
they meet the
concern
impervious
ourselves with
surface?
that.
But if they're not in the same footprint and they can't meet the side setback, then they don't meet current LDR.
Right, exactly right.
That's a good.
Well, you're saying the same thing I'm saying, is that they either build on the footprint, or we give them a variance, but they can still extend to the rear 14 feet, because they've got room to do so.
They
and have
might
this
have
rear
enough setback, but do they have enough, impervious surface ratio?
Yes.
There's that too.
I calculated
They
that.
do?
Yeah, they're about 46%.
So the only thing we need to consider is the side setback.
I disagree.
Well, if you look at their variance request, that's what they're asking for. They're not asking for 14 feet.
Well, they-
Somewhere in there they are asking.
Where is it?
It's in
There's the
that
variance right there. The request for the variance, all they're asking for.
I request a variance of 14 feet in the back. They are requesting that.
They wanna square it up by building 5 more 14-foot extensions on there.
Right.
They've got the side, and then they say 14 feet in the rear.
Why do they need a variance for that?
Well,
Because they were not there originally. There's
Okay.
six houses.
They-
Only one had the 14-foot extension on it. They want to rebuild that 14-foot extension and then let everybody else, the other 5, build the 14-foot extension to square it up, as they said. And that means 5 of those 6 will not be within the original footprint.
Doesn't matter,
Yeah.
they still meet the existing codes of a 10-foot setback.
Okay, but now you got a density issue,
46%, the lots
Density.
are 100 by,
Density.
density, okay.
Which is new code, they have to meet new codes, density is gonna be a problem too, is it not?
Densities,
Is it
8 per acre, I think. And these
What is
are
this dimension right here?
But
6
then,
of them.
then if you let the other 5 build that 14-foot extension, you're giving them permission to go against what we've been saying, which is either you build back on the original footprint, or you have to meet all the codes.
That's what, Adrian, I'd like for somebody to explain that. That ordinance says they have to build back they can build back in the original footprint.
Mm-hmm.
If they choose to do something else, then they have to meet current LDR.
Correct.
Okay, period. That's the end of what I must say. This does not meet it, the back. If they do
It
not,
does.
it does not.
They've got, as I said before, the houses are currently 34 feet long. If you had 14 feet, that makes 48 feet on a
It
100-foot
doesn't
lot.
matter, Jim, there's only one of them that was 14 feet already. If you do the rest of them, you're outside of the original footprint.
They have the room to do it,
Right.
but they're
If,
overstepping the
yeah,
boundaries.
if they build on the original footprint, they don't want to build on the original footprint.
That's my point.
They want it, if they extend down the side, okay, that's not the original footprint. If we grant that variance, we don't need to worry about 14 feet. Well,
I
you know,
guess the bigger question is, would they need a variance for the 14 feet? In my mind, they don't, because they meet the code.
yeah,
Because the rear
if
setback,
they don't build on the.
because the rear setback has to be at least 10.
Right, and it's gonna be like 50.
What would the side setbacks be under, if this was a brand new construction and they came in and wanted to,
7.5.
what would the side setbacks be?
7.5.
According to this, 0.5.
7.5 setback on high
Oh.
density residential.
Okay, that's my point. They're not gonna meet the 7.5.
Yeah. They're not, that's what we're trying to determine as to whether or not we're gonna meet the 7.5, and if we grant them 6 on each side, they're not.
No.
Right.
So you're granting a variance to allow
Well,
They're asking.
no, we're
it.
not.
Or
I mean,
you're
that's what
granting
we're
or you're not
considering,
granting,
yes.
Right,
That's the request.
right.
So basically, if we say no to granting that variance, they have to build, they either build on the original footprint, okay, which means they can't, we have to go to 14 feet too. Or if we don't grant it, then they've gotta come up with a new plan and
Correct.
build.
You can't see parts of one plan and parts of another
Yes,
that you like.
yes, yes.
You can't extend your property but keep your setback.
So if we disapprove the one, we don't have to consider the 14 feet.
Correct.
That was my
Now,
point.
setting, right now, there's a 2.5 foot setback on each side, right?
Yeah, they said the alley's 68 inches according to what we have in front of
And
us.
that is.
So I assume that's
utility.
2.5.
That's a utility easement.
Yeah,
So how does that impact utilities, the city's work there, or whoever's work goes through there?
Well,
If you
they're-
give them a variance.
they're normally gas or electric or something like that. Could be city, water, utility or something like that.
Is
But
it,
utility easements are, I mean, you're already
But
tight to
if,
get
is there
5 feet.
utilities outside of the city utilities going through there?
In the, in the staff recommendation, it says if this
Okay,
area,
I've got a power line behind my
There's
house. I
underground
don't
power
care.
that runs in.
I could not build under that power line.
Right.
in the staff recommendation says if this area is indeed a utility easement, the city would not recommend allowing building encroachment into the setback area.
It says,
And according to that
It
survey,
says-
it is
it
a
says
utility easement.
utility easement.
It was at the property line excluding the utility easement.
Right.
well, you know, they want 6 extra inches to make it, because they don't want, as they stated, they don't want to give up the 6 inches inside.
I'm speculating on that, it
What,
didn't say
it's,
that.
it's
Well,
on
they say
there.
that.
Okay.
Yeah,
Okay.
it states there, that they do not want to give up any interior space, so they want it to go into the
Yeah,
easement.
but I mean.
Okay, wait a minute. 6 inches is the width of my hand here. So they're wanting to keep this much space on the inside, yet stick it out the back, or to the side, whichever it is, which cuts down on the room to maneuver to get to the utility. So that seems like a really bad choice. They're gonna need to give up 6 inches, which is this wide, on the inside to get what they want in order to keep that utility lane clear enough
So
to
then,
work on.
if I understand this, there's 6 units, right? So then can't they just, oh, you've got 12 walls, so that's a ½ inch on each side, right? For each
Yep.
unit.
You could resurvey it.
Basically an inch in each unit they'd lose. I don't even know what they do.
Okay.
The bottom line is that if they wanna square it up and they don't go on the old footprint, and if we disapprove it, okay, they've gotta come up with a new plan. If everybody's gonna go 14 feet back, they're gonna end up with more space than they had before anyway, without encroaching.
But they're gonna need approval from you to do that.
If we say no to the variance, why would they?
Because they're changing their original footprint, have to go to the new LDR.
Yes, and then they would meet the setback under the new
They wouldn't
LDR.
meet the side setbacks, they wouldn't meet the density.
Density is not met.
That's
As it lays out
that's a
today.
problem.
Yeah, the new LDR, they have to build the new LDR if they wanna do
The
anything.
density's 8, isn't it?
Yeah.
8 per acre?
Yeah, but they're
Or less than
twice
an
that.
acre.
That's what I'm
So
saying.
twice.
If they do this out back, they gotta meet the new LDR.
Correct.
Yeah, and that's what I was, you know. So their choice is to take a ½ inch off of each wall inside and leave 1 unit at 14 feet out back, and then basically put it back on the same footprint.
That's right.
Okay.
So what they would need to do then is ask for a variance on density.
And can you do a variance?
You can't get a variance on density. You can't get a variance from the comprehensive plan. Only from the
So if they
LDRs.
don't build on the original footprint, then
They're in big trouble.
they're gonna have to come up with 4 units or 5 units or whatever it is to meet the density rather than 6.
Exactly.
They build on top of each other. No, I'm not
Up and
going
down?
to do that either.
One on top, one on bottom?
Okay.
We've been talking for a long time.
Okay.
Are we discussing this or is
We're
this everybody?
closing the public meeting officially. And now we're talking, board comments that I think a lot of you have already heard, but does anybody have any additional comments?
The thing for me is that if you grant this variance, you're gonna confer a benefit on them that nobody else in that area enjoys. None of the other residents can do this except them. So my tendency would say that since they can rebuild the previous footprint, and none of the 6 considerations apply in their favor, I see no reason to grant the variance.
Is that a motion?
No,
Make a
it's just a
motion.
comment.
To deny.
Okay, do we have a motion?
Motion to deny.
Okay. Second.
Mr. Driver,
Yes.
Mr. Masters,
Yes.
Ms. Lindsay,
Yes.
Mr. Bush.
Yes.
Okay,
You're right.
Come up.
thank you. I'm gonna jump out of order here just a minute, because we could be on this a while. Is there anybody here that needs to say anything before we get into our
What would you like to
changes?
say?
Yeah, I wanna say something very close to what y'all were doing.
Sure.
We got a house on 37th Street. What y'all been discussing on 37th, 36th Street, there's 50 houses connected there. The city was kind enough to let everybody go back on their own footprint. That was nice. I have a big concern. We don't have to put them on pylons now. If you were my neighbor, you could put yours aside. I'm gonna put mine 8 foot, I'm gonna put my boat under it. The other guy might put 10. That's a problem. I can make my house look like a 2-story, yours might look like something else. That's a problem. A bigger problem is the roof lines ain't gonna match. Some of them could go this way, some of them go get this way. It's gonna be a mess. Your words a while ago were, we've been here trying to prevent non-conforming properties. It don't conform. The city needs to take a look and a hard look at making this conform out there, because it's coming. But if you get on it now, and maybe use this as a, like the government tag stuff on to get it to the council, something needs to be done, it's gonna help y'all not have 50 or 100 people coming doing what they
That's
want.
that's an excellent point. What was that district?
We discussed.
Alarm?
High,
Huh?
it was, residential high density.
No, no, what, a corridor, whatever.
Tourist corridor we talked
No,
about?
no, what was that?
Tourist mixed use?
No, the
No.
corridor where we tried to make
Yeah, it was,
we got
we
slaughtered
talked
over,
about
we
south
talked
of
about 5
98
minutes, the
being
place
a-
where
I mean,
we
if there's any place that is
It's a
called
tourist
for,
corridor,
it's
yeah.
on
Yeah.
37th. But what,
Overlay zone?
Yeah.
overlay
Yes,
district,
yes.
overlay district, that's where an
That was a
overlay
tourist
district.
overlay district.
We could have already built the house there, and we decided just to
You'll
wait,
never get that done.
we bought another lot, we're gonna build. But,
You'll never
because
get
we're
that
waiting
done.
on our neighbors and all, because I don't wanna put anybody to that position. It's something needs to be addressed by the city.
Okay,
And you guys.
yeah, I would recommend that you go to the council meeting next week.
I was hoping that you'd do that since you said.
Well, I won't be here, I won't be here next week.
The unfortunate thing is the council assigns tasks to this board doesn't generate their own.
Well, I understand.
And you know, another
I bet-
issue to that is like, we were talking about the utility easements. You know, between that first and second section of townhouses that were right behind the gas station. I mean, those two, that there's an alleyway there, and there's, utility easements. Well, you know, they think they can rebuild there, but by the easement that they can't.
Their footprint was on the easement,
Right.
and they didn't know if that was 30 years ago.
Yeah,
Can they build back?
The original
But I
footprint.
might buy that piece of property, I would
Depends,
not know that.
well.
well, and see,
Depends
we're-
what the easement,
it's utility,
utilities.
like Duke Energy and,
well,
yeah.
I know of a case where there's a utility easement, that went under a house that was there for 50 years. It was a utility easement that wasn't used, it's inactive, whatever. So the next phase of that would be who's in there, what's going on before, just because it's utility
Anyway,
easement, doesn't mean, but it's a great point. I mean,
Yeah,
you bring
That's
up
what
a
I
great
wanted to
point.
bring to your attention, that you
And
got 50
I would
units
encourage you
down
to
there.
go to the council meeting.
Well, I was hoping that y'all would do that, so I came.
Well, if I were here, I would,
Mhm.
okay? But somebody needs to bring it, because, I mean, that's really an important issue right now. You're great with enough foresight to say that.
Yeah.
And an overlay district, I mean, if there's any area in town where an overlay district should apply, it's in that dense area right there next to the pier.
Yeah. Yeah.
Well, all that property make a good parking lot for the new pier. And the
So,
density parking.
I mean, somebody, let's discuss that amongst the board. I mean, how are we gonna bring that, somebody needs to bring that up to the
Let's
council.
do
I'll
for
go.
them.
I'll go and work it out.
Because, I mean, to me, that's extremely important. How do you have to do it?
And you know, those, I think the lots on, if you're facing going in toward the pier, the lots on the left-hand side were all straight, you know, their property lines are straight, but the ones on our side are all, I'm called jacked up, you know, they're
But
crooked.
every lot has an encroachment on
Yeah.
somebody else.
Yeah.
And so it's just, as people like these people here, as people start to buy those properties, you know,
There's gonna be challenges.
it's gonna be
happening already.
challenges there.
Yeah.
Who said what?
Happening already.
I
Okay.
got the point.
I'll be
Get
there.
out of their way.
I'll raise the flag.
Well,
They're all gonna have to build to at least a certain level
Hi,
of
thanks for bringing it up.
height,
Okay.
and then after that, I guess it's up to them.
I think we need to talk about styles too. I mean, you could have octagons and
Well,
everything else.
not really.
Not,
Original
Maybe not.
footprint.
But
No,
okay,
not
so
really,
they're,
okay.
they're connected, and you know, the roof lines all had to go forward and back, you know, to address the
Right.
water problem, so, but if you've got people going in there at different heights, then the water issue coming off the roofs is, you know, that's gonna be an issue,
Yeah.
so.
We'll still address it.
Go to the
We'll put
side.
it-
I'll go to
And
the.
I know we're gonna
Get it on
get,
the agenda.
we're gonna end up having it back.
Yeah, that's
but,
okay, it's where it should be.
You can call us again if you need it.
All right. Anybody else?
We do have, I do have one thing.
Okay,
I'm in the
tell us your name again.
Scott McElroy. I live at, on 39th Street, Oceanside Village, 103E. And we have a deck issue that's ongoing back and forth. And there's been basically there's been a stop work on any and all decks that are being built there. Because there was a code change from, I think it was 34 inches for the treads to 44 or 42. I can't remember the number exactly, but it was a 10-inch difference.
Width you talking about?
Yes.
Width of the stairs? Okay.
Yes. And what that did is, we as an association approved a deck change that stayed within the existing footprint of the deck that was there. But with that code change, it extended the steps that come down out into what used to be the walkway in the common area.
Is that a building code change?
So the width changed the run of the stairs?
Yes, because they go down and they go to a landing, and then they go out.
Yeah, but could you not build the stairs back inset into the deck?
We've looked at it every which way we can possibly.
So there's no way to inset?
Well, let me finish what I'm telling you is,
Okay.
that was before the storm. The walkway was installed when the property was built in '05. After the storm, the walkway doesn't exist. We're gonna have to replace the walkway, we're gonna have to rebuild it. So these changes, they're not actually going into a walkway, they're going into where it was, but the walkway that's gonna be rebuilt will be rebuilt at the edge of the steps, just like they were prior to. So, and there was a formal complaint filed by one of our homeowners, and that's what prompted Bo Creel to come out and just basically do a big hand wave and say, stop everything. And now we have people that are sitting there just kind of wondering what's going on. So that's an issue that's coming up, so.
Bo came out and stopped.
There was a complaint filed with the county.
Okay, what's the address?
The,
109.
It's all the yellow townhomes on 39th Street.
it is
That's you.
Oceanside Village.
Very nice.
My specific address is 103E, South 39th Street,
Okay.
so,
Is that where the issue is?
no, sir,
Okay.
there are a couple of decks on the end.
So are you representing the association?
He's the
I am.
designee.
I drew the short straw, but, I'm down here full-time, and a lot of those folks are not. So, I told them I'd come to the meeting today, I didn't know I was gonna have an opportunity to speak to you, I appreciate that. But, we're just looking for some guidance, we're looking to get this
And
resolved.
again, that's something next Tuesday, I'd go to the council meeting,
Okay.
and, when you have an opportunity to address them for public comments, I would let them know that's a problem, and right now, you just stop, what are we gonna do?
I don't understand why the width of the tread makes the run longer.
Because
That can't be.
because there's a turn, you can see right here.
Sounds like Florida to
You
me.
see how these treads,
Yeah.
well, when you extend that out 10 inches, it makes this platform extend out 10 inches.
Okay.
Did he say it was because of Florida building code?
There was a building code change, yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, so there's nothing we
Look,
can do.
yeah. One of
Whose
them-
sidewalk? Was that
can
the
you-
city sidewalk?
No, sir, it's internal. It's on the common area for the association there, for the property.
The sidewalk?
Well, the
Walkway.
walkway
The
itself.
walkway.
Can you give me your name and phone number?
Sure.
And I'll
Scott
call you.
McElroy.
Scott.
I don't think so.
MCELROY.
She can help them understand it.
Yeah,
Yeah.
if it's Florida
And
building
then-
code. the
This
city
sounds
has
like
no
Florida building
jurisdiction over
code and not city LDR issues to me.
it. So the city will have zero jurisdiction over it.
Yeah, so that'll
So I need
be,
to go to Bo's office and.
You
That's
need to go
me.
to the state.
She's,
that'd be.
Okay. All right,
What's your phone number?
770
Okay,
883
883
8441.
8441.
Yeah, we just wanna get it resolved, and whatever guidance is put out, that's what we wanna go by. And
I'll
just
give
so
you a
we
call
keep-
tomorrow and we'll figure it out.
And the other issue is a liability issue for the city where they came through and demoed all the sidewalks in front of 38th on our side. They piled up the big pieces of sidewalk, and they're just kinda teetering there. If a kid or something were to be playing on that, those things start to slide, then, that's a huge liability issue. And the last thing is, between 38th and 39th, there is erosion taking place on a drain that went under 98 towards the marina. The head wall, when it was initially built, was a piece of plywood. And that has since rotted, and there was a sinkhole there before the storm. There's a bad one there now. It is a DOT problem, and I was working with Philip since January. I put up a fence around it to keep people from falling in it, but that erosion has since undermined the sidewalk and is about 6 feet from 98 now. So You think we got a detour problem down here?
Yeah,
If it gets to 98 there,
there's no way around.
well, there is, you go by the boat launch. and
Oh,
you
come around that
Come
way.
across the
It'll be
new bridge.
unglued if you do that.
Yeah.
And that will, no, there's no way that'll handle the 98
Yeah.
traffic, so.
Have you spoken to the new public works people?
I've left messages several times and I've not been able to get
I wrote a note and I'll talk to them tomorrow.
Okay. And I did take some pictures and just, I keep track of it, because it is a liability issue, if somebody falls in that thing or whatever, that's why I put the fence up around it, and so, just wanna make you aware of it.
Great.
It's a
Well,
problem.
we
It's out there.
appreciate your help.
Scott, thank you for your comments and thank you for your service.
Yes, sir, thank you, like your shirt.
That's my son's.
Yeah.
It's my son's, not mine.
Okay. Any other various and sundry items, and we'll jump back?
I got one various and sundry item.
All right,
Gina's now gonna be coming to meetings, it sounds like, on behalf of the building department,
Oh, yeah, yeah.
right?
yeah,
Right?
yeah,
Am
that's
I
right.
telling the truth?
Yeah, you're telling the
That you're
truth.
going to be here
I
from now
will
on?
be here at all
So-
meetings,
Okay.
yes.
All right, guys, I do have a question for, maybe even the building. Utility easements, okay? Does a utility company have a right, let's say Duke Energy, now I've got a power line that runs on my property line. Can Duke Energy?
underground or above ground?
Excuse me? Well, it's above ground, it's a
Okay,
pole.
okay.
Okay, but any utility other than the city, can they come in there and make you stop? I mean, Duke, the power company's got a 5-foot easement on each side of that wire, from what I understand. What do they say if somebody went out there and built in the situation we're talking tonight?
You're,
If somebody actually built on that, in that easement, can the power company actually say something totally outside the city?
yeah,
Yeah.
if
Yeah.
you're building on somebody else's easement, you have to get permission from them,
Or
To
they
do
can
so.
tear it down.
or they can tear
Tear
it down.
it down.
Yeah. There,
So you would have to have not only have an approval from the city, but they would have to go to all the utilities and say, we wanna do this.
Whichever utility has the easement.
Yeah.
Right, whoever owns the easement, you have to get their permission. So if it's a Gulf Power easement, you'd have to get permission.
So
from
even
Gulf
if
Power.
we had approved this extension tonight for 6 inches onto the easement, then they would have still had to go to whoever has those utilities and say, can we do this?
Right.
I'm 90% sure it was us anyway.
I doubt if a single property owner knows that.
yeah.
Mhm. Probably not.
They have to look at their survey to know where their easements are, it's on their survey, so
Well, that-
most people don't, yeah.
You know better than to think that people are gonna look at that, but that's a major issue then, if that's the way it goes. Something needs to be done, God help us all, to inform these people, cause they're not going to do their due diligence and learn it
Well,
themselves.
that's the permit process.
Yeah.
You get a survey before
Right.
you issue the permit,
Yeah.
so that would stop
If
it.
I wanna put a swimming pool on a utility easement,
For
I
Duke
will get a
Power.
permit to do that.
Duke Power
The
easement.
problem is when we've got folks building without permits,
Right.
that's where it gets
And that-
scary,
Yes, that
Yeah.
is a
But-
That's
huge
the problem.
problem.
you know? That's part of it. Okay, edits to land development code. We're gonna buzz through this now,
Yeah,
right?
there's copies in the middle, if you wanna grab one of each of those,
Okay,
that's,
This has
it's
the-
pretty simple tonight.
2 sheets.
Yeah, I can't
Great.
separate them.
that's okay.
That's two.
These are single sheets?
Yeah.
It just shows you the changes with the cross-outs.
Okay.
Anybody else do that?
You need one more sheet.
Oh, here, I think I have two.
You have two of
Yeah,
them.
you got
It
two
should
of
be
one.
two
and I-
different
Now,
sections.
we're good.
Now,
No? Do you have two?
I do.
yeah, no, I'm fine.
Okay.
One is section 2.02.03, and the other is section 7.12.00.
Right, that was in the
Okay.
packet.
So let's start with the easy one, which is 2.02.03. Tanya asked me to change the title of the section because it was getting confused with the mixed use categories, and it really isn't specific to the mixed use category. It just has to do with when you're developing in a category that allows for more than one type of land use. So I changed the title of the section to be more clear that it doesn't pertain to mixed use, it's just projects developed within a category that allows for more than one type of land use. For example, it allows for residential and commercial, or whatever it might be. So along with that, to cross out mixed use under A, and so this section, the part A would just start with residential development and continue on. Nick had a concern today, via email, that the last part of this paragraph, which states, except as may be allowed by a properly approved PUD or permissible variance, he was concerned that that might lead to someone thinking they could they could create a PUD that doesn't follow the density or the standards in the comprehensive plan, which I kind of agree that language probably needs to be stricken. So at that last sentence, even though it's not on your copy there, I would strike a plan amendment, and then I would strike except as may be allowed by a properly approved PUD or permissible variance, because you're not going to get a variance from density anyway. You can't, because it's a comprehensive plan issue. So the sentence would just read, all structures shall be built to the requirements of the comprehensive plan and the LGR, period.
Sounds fun.
Okay. Small change in number 2 of that part A, just changing areas to projects, just to clarify that we're talking about projects and not a land use category or a specific zoning district. And then part B, number 1, we're striking adhere to the residential density requirements as set forth above. There was a concern that there might be some confusion about what the density was that pertained to the GC and TC, so we're just calling it out and saying it has a maximum density of 18 dwelling units to the acre in those 2 categories. And that was it on that section.
Okay, how about changing of the corner from 20 feet to 10 feet? B3.
B3, setbacks. Yes, I'm sorry,
Yeah,
good catch. Yeah,
That was done a while ago.
that is also a
Okay,
recommendation.
why, may I ask?
Because it was changed in the,
It was consistent
GC
with the other
in the charts.
categories.
GC and TC zoning districts.
It was changed when the LDR was here.
Mm-hmm.
Okay,
I don't think they caught it in the text, they changed the
Okay.
charts.
Or LDC is the correct terminology here.
That's, yeah, so, okay, LDC. So I guess we need to change it to LDC up at the top then, if it's an LDC now. Not an LDR, it's an LDC.
In one place it's already changed.
Yeah. It just, I don't know that somebody went through the whole thing, and we just need to catch that.
So they're changing land development regulations, land development code?
Yes, they did. I really-
And
so
why
there's-
was that again?
I don't have an answer to that. I don't know why they did that.
There's another LDR in number 4B, B4.
Okay, LDC, yep.
And who authorized that change?
I guess the city council
I'm
adopted it.
assuming it was back in March. I don't know.
That was never brought up. I can guarantee you that. I'm
I
just
was
It
told-
curious.
wasn't either. It might have been the consultant that was
Yeah,
doing everything, recommended that, and the council approved it.
I think that's what happened. Yeah, you know what, part B. I'm not even sure the purpose of part B since you've got the charts now. But I haven't looked at it that deeply because the setback in the chart for tourist commercial is 20 feet in the rear.
They had decided that that was.
Just change that.
Yeah.
Yeah, change
Oh, they
it.
That's
changed
changed.
it.
They
changed it.
Or in
That's
the
what it
works, I think there might be
No,
no.
they've already changed
Did they do
it.
the final reading of that
Already
ordinance?
changed it.
So
Okay.
it needs to be changed in the chart.
Yeah.
Okay.
It's 10 feet now.
Nobody could figure out why it was 20. It was considered to be a typo. And so to make everything the same, they could see no reason for 20 feet versus 10 feet in the other area, so they just changed it to 10 feet.
So the chart needs to be
Correct.
updated.
It's my understanding.
So, general commercial in the chart also has a setback of 20 feet, so that one's wrong too,
Oh, well.
No, I think that
No.
remains.
In the rear?
in the rear. All right, we need to clear that up.
Okay.
Yeah,
Yeah,
I
so-
think we discussed that in one of our meetings. And my recommendation, or my recollection is that that was changed to 10.
And general commercial also?
Yeah, I know tourist commercials, I don't remember the general. It doesn't mean it
So-
didn't happen, I
yeah,
just don't
so-
remember it.
So that's definitely, we need to dig in on
Actually,
that one.
since you have it in the charts, I would just delete 3, because why do you need to?
Ordinance 727 has not had a final reading.
It
It is
has?
not approved.
And that's the setback then?
Mhm.
Okay. So I knew it came
When was the
through us.
first reading?
All the way back in May.
Yeah, I thought they did it.
Yeah, it was in May, but there's not a second one done yet. I was told to hold off for some reason, and I don't remember what it was.
Huh.
I would recommend you delete 3, because if it's in the chart, I don't, it's up to you. If you wanna just wait until this second ordinance is finalized out, then we
I
can.
mean, the
clean
chart's
this
the
up.
chart, I'd rather just have it all in one spot, so
I
we're
agree.
not going back and forth. It seemed to make,
That's
that's
my
why we have
fault.
the chart, so we can look at it.
So those are the changes on that section.
Okay. I know this has a July date on it, draft.
Yes, it's
Okay.
for
All
today,
right.
yeah.
Next page,
Do you wanna make a motion?
do we,
Make a motion that we recommend that the city council adopt the changes as discussed.
To what?
do we have a second?
I'll second.
Changes to the LDC now.
LDC
Yeah.
section.
2.02.03.
Okay. Mr. Driver,
Yes.
Mr. Masters? Yes. Ms. Lindsay?
Yes.
Mr. Bush?
Of course.
Of course.
Okay,
Alright.
next page?
So the second section that you have is 7.12.00, which talks about non-conforming uses and structures. This section was updated to clarify the difference, first of all, between a non-conforming use and a non-conforming structure, because they are different. The use is actually how the property is used, whether it's commercial, residential, industrial, and the structure is more of the built environment, the setbacks, the height, the impervious surface, and that type of thing, so it helped. So I created 2 different subsections under here, 7.12.01 and 7.12.02. The first talks about uses, the second talks about structures, to divide that out. And the language that we adopted in policy 1.8.4 of the plan that talked about the grandfathering of the,
Use,
use was included here. I know you guys are just looking at this tonight, so if you wanna take a couple minutes to read it. Nick and I had some email discussions about this today, he's fine with it. The only comment, and he makes a good point, that 712.01 part A. He recommended, and I agree, that we add the word vacant in front of lots, and then vacant in front of parcels, so it would be vacant lots, period, and then vacant parcels of record or recorded platted lots, etc.
Okay, go back up to 7.12.01.
Sure,
Second sentence from the bottom.
okay,
I realize it's wordsmithing, but I think shall should be struck because it's a continuing,
Yeah,
I don't know what you call it.
the
It's
shall is already up there in another place,
yeah.
okay,
so.
got it, yep, I agree. Or be allowed to add other structures.
Cause it makes it very cumbersome if you don't.
Sure.
So it seems like what we're saying is what we had said before. If it's an existing use that's not within the approved LDC or our regulations, it's okay because it was existing. If it's 50% or more damaged, you can't go back and have it be a use that doesn't comply with the codes.
Right, and if you're if your use that's been discontinued for more than 6 months, then you can't continue, you have to conform to the land use category and zoning district that you're in. So it gives you some kind of window of time.
So,
And it was also related to the owner, right? I mean, if you sold that property,
It's not related to the owner,
goes with the
it goes
rights.
with the land,
Yeah,
so anybody that bought the property could,
yes,
could,
okay.
yeah. They couldn't do anything different.
right.
7.12.02.5, can you enlighten me as to what section 2.02.07E?
Yeah, that's the one that, I'll have to get, oh,
I'm too lazy to look myself.
that's all right, 20207, it's in here. That was the one that, gave the time,
Oh, that's
the
the
24 months.
slab, you go back on the slab until 2020.
Yeah,
After that, you have to meet the new code.
Okay,
yeah,
okay.
and actually,
And that
Nick
date's
and I were
wrong.
talking about this, because
That October 9th date is wrong.
yeah, I think, I don't have the ordinance with me, I can't remember
It's,
the ordinance number.
It's
Six-
past October, it's like, I don't know, I don't wanna take a guess, but it's not, I don't think it's 2 years from the date of the storm, I think it's the date past that.
202, setbacks, part E. Limited setback waiver for 24 months following the effective date of this ordinance. The city will consider development order applications with reduced setbacks as provided below and may approve these applications if all of the following requirements are met. Number one, the limited setback waiver allows for a new primary structure to be built in the same footprint as the previous primary structure as the footprint existed on October 9th, 2018.
Hmm. But it said the date of this ordinance. The
Yeah, and
ordinance
see,
date's
that's, yeah,
past October 9th,
it was April, I think.
yeah.
I think it was April
I know it's
23rd.
past the 9th.
This waiver does
I
not
believe
apply if the use of the property will change. Example, building a dwelling unit where a business was located or building a business where a dwelling unit was located. This waiver does not apply if the number of dwelling units on the parcel will increase. This waiver does not apply to accessory structures. Waiver follows the land rather than being personal to an owner. The waiver expires upon expiration of the development order, but if the project was constructed pursuant to the development order, it will be protected by the city's regular non-conforming use rules hereafter. The request for this limited setback waiver must be part of a normal development order application. Applicants must complete forms prescribed by the city administrator, blah, blah.
I remember there was a lot of discussion in the council meeting about, as that date approaches, that date can be extended.
Yeah, they can change the code, they can adopt a new ordinance.
Right.
And I think there was something too about, Nick thought it was actually 36 months and not 24.
In the ordinance, it says 36.
Because they
Okay.
changed it.
So the ordinance they
Really?
sent to me was 24 months, and I think there was,
It
What
was-
ordinance number is
it was
that,
adopt-
Gina?
It's 715,
yeah.
715.
and it was adopted on April 23rd.
Yeah.
And that's why the April then,
Mhm.
Yeah, and it says 36 months in it.
okay.
So what we're talking is 36 months from April 23rd?
But wasn't the intent from the day of the hurricane rather than the code?
That's not what it says.
It was the original discussion was from the date.
And then they changed it to the date of adoption, and then they thought 2 years wasn't enough, and they went to 36
Yeah,
months.
it felt like things just weren't moving
Now they're back
fast
to 2
enough.
years.
Nick thinks Tanya got the 24-month ordinance signed rather than 36, and she sent me the 24th, and that's why it's
Okay,
off. in
I'll pull the sign one.
Yeah. Well, I have a signed one at 24. She
By
sent
me
it to
and
me
her?
at 7:15.
I got a sign one right here by there,
And me?
Yeah.
and you.
Interesting.
And yours is
I don't know where it came
36?
from, but yeah, it says 36.
We need to check if the ordinance numbers are the same, because they could have revised it down.
All they could have. Yeah.
Okay, the plot thickens.
Welcome on board.
Does that mean that all of this is now,
No.
No,
No.
yeah, there's parts of it will be different, but for the most part.
Yeah.
I just hated for you to make all these copies.
Well, so when I reformatted it, instead of going page 1 through whatever it was, I made the page numbers according to the chapter, so we can
Right.
just replace a chapter rather than a whole document as a page number. Yeah.
Great. Okay, so any further discussion on 7.12.00 down through C? Paper that we have? Everybody okay?
Do we need a motion on that one too?
Yeah.
I make a motion that we recommend that the city council approve changes we discussed reference to 7.12.00 of the Land Development Code.
I second.
Mr. Driver?
Yes.
Mr. Masters?
Yes.
Ms. Lindsay?
Yes.
Mr. Bush?
Yes.
Okay. Any further discussion?
I have another point of business. I would like to formally, on behalf of myself and any other member of the board, would like to thank Adrian for his help, all the work he's put in, because I tell you what, without him, our job would have been 900 times harder than it was. So, you know, I really thank you for what you've done for us and for what you've done for this city, and you will be sorely missed, sir.
You're in good hands. I think, it's only been one day, we'll see.
And the great news is he'll be close by if we need to
For a
look
little
up
bit.
his brain and
For a little bit.
figure out what in the heck we were thinking about.
Yeah, we know where you live.
There is a deadline when that phone number's changing.
All right. Okay, anybody else? All right. Meeting's adjourned.
All right, looky here.